This creepy footage was posted by Reddit user healthy_average_9389, who claims it was captured during a late-night trip to Corbett's Canyon in Oregon. After pulling over on a remote mountain road, the uploader and a friend got out of the vehicle and started sweeping the darkness with a flashlight. Everything appeared quiet and empty at first, but then, just moments later, they spotted something so deeply unsettling that they rushed back to the car and immediately locked themselves inside.
Like, there's just absolutely nothing out here. But yeah, see the road. Ooh, right. Road closed. And I'm just like, not trying to see some crap. So we decided.
And as we walked out and we heard noises behind us, and we ran back to the car. Not saying we're like P words or anything.
As the flashlight beam pans across the tree line, it briefly catches what looks like a tall figure standing motionless among the trees. Right next to the dark shape is a long, slender object that almost resembles a staff being held vertically in place. The figure doesn't move even slightly. After going back and watching the footage, the two witnesses reportedly felt even more disturbed than before, and wasted no time getting out of that area. Now, the eerie silhouette may have simply been a tree stump with overlapping branches arranged in a way that mimicked the outline of a cloaked figure, but then why did it stand out so starkly from everything surrounding it? Was this just shadows falling together in an unsettling pattern? Or was there actually someone dressed in dark clothing standing silently in those woods, watching them the entire time? This next case centers on a man named Josh, who has spent the last several years trying to determine what exactly is sharing his home with him. According to Josh, everything started on an ordinary day when he pulled up to his house after work and parked out front. Before he even opened the car door, he glanced toward one of the windows and spotted a dark silhouette standing behind the glass, apparently watching him pull in. The issue was that the house was supposed to be completely empty. Fearing a break-in, he rushed inside and went through every single room. No doors had been forced, no windows were open, nothing seemed disturbed, and there was absolutely nobody standing near that window. Initially, Josh tried to rationalize it away, telling himself he had probably mistaken a reflection for a human figure, but the image refused to leave his mind. That nagging feeling was ultimately what pushed him to install multiple cameras throughout the house. If something was truly there, eventually one of those cameras would catch it, and that is precisely what happened. In one piece of basement footage, several objects begin shifting entirely on their own. First, a small decorative tree, then a doll, and then a series of plant pots that topple to the floor one by one. Shortly after, tiny pinpoints of light drift across the frame. Now, those small lights could very well be dust particles catching the infrared, and that is a perfectly reasonable explanation. What I find much harder to dismiss is the way the objects move in sequence, almost as though something is passing through the room and brushing against everything along the way. Josh kept the cameras rolling, and a few weeks later, another one picked up something even harder to explain. Except this time, there was nothing to see at all, only something to hear. out of complete silence, a woman's laughter suddenly rings out somewhere in the kitchen. Josh maintains he was alone in the house, and that no television, no radio, and no other device was running at the time. Look, hearing any unexplained sound inside your home at night is enough to rattle you, but hearing a woman laugh when you are certain no one else is there is something on a completely different level. Not long after that, the basement camera picked up the sound of footsteps crossing the empty room. They are heavy and unmistakable, yet nobody ever comes into view. On yet another occasion, a low, raspy voice was recorded near the bathroom, appearing to say a few words, though they are hard to make out clearly. It was around this point that Josh began noticing a pattern forming. First came the figure watching him through the window, then the objects moving, the laughter, the footsteps, and now a voice. It was almost as if whatever was in that house had stopped simply drifting through it, and had started making it known that it was aware of the cameras. That suspicion became much harder to ignore when one of those cameras caught a figure moving through the kitchen. At roughly 8 in the evening, a dark silhouette slides in from one edge of the frame and moves steadily toward the cabinets. The shape is roughly the size of a person, but it vanishes before we can get any real sense of what we are actually looking at. To Josh, the figure bore a striking resemblance to whatever had been standing at the window on the very first night. But as unsettling as all of that was, the most disturbing clip was still ahead. Josh had positioned a camera aimed down a hallway, most likely hoping to catch more shadows or footsteps passing through, but what showed up was not in the hallway at all. It was on the ceiling. Through a gap in the ceiling, a pale, vaguely human head begins to slowly push through. It does not attempt to climb down, and it does not scan the room. It simply hangs there, staring straight into the lens, and that is the detail that unsettles me most about this entire case. Whatever that thing was, it does not appear to have been caught by coincidence. It turns its face directly toward the camera, as though it knew precisely where it was mounted, and had come into view purely to be seen. Josh says he inspected the space above the ceiling afterward and found no one concealed up there, and no opening that would explain how anything could have appeared that way. Now, each of these recordings might have its own separate explanation, but taken all together, I cannot stop asking myself whether Josh set up all those cameras to keep watch over whatever was inside that house, or whether, from the very first moment, that thing had already been keeping watch over Josh. As always, I will let you make up your own mind on that one. This eerie clip was originally posted by the TikTok user WV Paranormal. The footage comes from an infrared security camera keeping watch over the back door of a residential property in the middle of the night. At the start of the recording, the entire yard sits completely still, not a single thing stirring. Then, just a few seconds in, something begins to drift into view from the far end of the path. Pay close attention, and you'll notice a pale, stretched out shape gliding slowly past the bushes before it vanishes into the dark. According to whoever owns this footage, the camera's motion detection and human tracking functions never once went off, as if the system had no idea anything had moved through the yard at all. No definitive explanation has ever been established. Certain viewers think it was nothing more than a bug flying extremely close to the lens, its shape warped by the infrared exposure. Others aren't buying that, arguing that the object appears to be traveling much deeper into the yard rather than hovering right in front of the camera. If they're right about that, then what exactly slipped through the frame without setting off a single sensor? In August 2023, a TikToker going by Mike Runner posted footage of himself venturing through an abandoned school. The structure had been left to decay for years, and Mike makes his way through its hollow, empty hallways. Strewn across the floors, he comes across old drawings made by children that were left behind. Most appear harmless enough, but a few depict disturbing figures that seem far too dark for a kid to have drawn. What makes it even stranger is that these drawings are scattered across multiple separate rooms, rather than grouped together, giving the impression the place was abandoned in a panic. As he pushes deeper inside, an odd metallic sounding voice suddenly becomes audible. There's no clear source for it, but the warped, eerie sound echoes through the corridor in a deeply unsettling way. Some people in the comments were convinced it had a paranormal origin, while others argued it was nothing more than a sound effect added in editing. Even so, in that moment, the voice feels chillingly genuine. Inside one of the rooms, a tall, dark figure stands motionless in the corner. It doesn't react, doesn't shift it, just stays there. It's easy to overlook at first glance, but the moment your eyes find it, you can't look away. There are those who say it's merely a shadow or a piece of furniture, but plenty of others feel its silhouette looks far too deliberate for that. Either way, it's difficult to escape the creeping sense that something or someone never truly walked out of that place. A home CCTV camera recorded this footage, showing a young boy lying in bed alongside his father, just moments before something deeply unsettling unfolds on screen.
Yo, scary dog. No, wait, scary dog.
Scary friend. Scary friend.
On the surface, nothing appears out of the ordinary. The two were simply resting together until the child abruptly tells his father that a scary friend is standing at the door. The father slowly shifts his gaze toward the doorway, but the boy keeps insisting the figure is still there. According to the father, nobody else was in the house that night, just the two of them, which makes what follows all the more chilling. Right after the child speaks up, the hallway light switches on by itself, with no one anywhere near it. And that still wasn't the end of it. Later, once both of them get up and walk out of the room, the camera picks up one more detail, the bathroom door drifting shut on its own, with no one around to push it. The father had no idea this had even happened until he went back through the footage, and what he saw left him completely shaken. A woman named Destiny was home by herself when a lightning bolt struck just outside her property. At that exact instant, something or someone made its way inside. Following that powerful strike, she got up to look around and assess any damage. With parts of the house losing power, she set out some candles to keep things lit. When she pulled up her security camera footage to dig deeper, she was horrified to find that something had genuinely entered her home at the precise moment lightning hit.
So watch in this right corner, right when the lightning strikes. There. What is that? What is that?
For a fraction of a second, a solid, unfamiliar shape appeared on the floor. In a brief burst of light, before disappearing entirely. Destiny had no idea what she was looking at. She'd already contacted the fire department to come check the electrical system, and it was becoming clear that something far stranger than a lightning strike had taken place that evening. She went back through the CT recordings from that period, which covered both the firefighter's inspection and something deeply unsettling that unfolded during it. See for yourself what the camera picked up.
Yeah, you inside of the house or you outside the house? No, we were inside with her. Yeah. Then there was a boom, house shook. Oh, I thought it was like one tower. You go up. Another floor. No, not that I mean, we've had like city blackouts, but not towers, so.
As the firefighters moved through the house doing their checks, a shadow shot across the frame from one side to the other, and a candle Destiny had placed nearby abruptly went out. One of the firefighters in the room clearly sensed something was off and visibly reacted with alarm. He would later describe seeing a strange, unidentifiable figure. When Destiny went through the footage that followed, it was hard to deny that something had been sharing that space with them. Here's the moment that really changes things. At one point, a firefighter set his flashlight down on the sofa while he went to check the breaker box. What happened next was hard to explain. The fabric on the sofa's backrest, right where the light was resting, pushed outward as though something had just stood up, then sank back down as if something had settled into the cushion again. The same pattern showed up in the footage that came after. When the firefighter directed his flashlight toward the sofa, the fabric compressed once more, hinting at something occupying that spot. What made this especially unnerving was that whatever was there seemed to be responding directly to the light. Earlier, a strange shape had flashed into view during the lightning burst in Destiny's room. Then, when the flashlight hit the sofa, the movement happened again. It pointed to some kind of presence that was being affected by light, though what that presence actually was, nobody could say. After doing some deep research into the story, I stumbled across a few theories that are hard to shake. According to some, when lightning strikes, it momentarily bridges our reality with another dimension. For just a few milliseconds, a kind of doorway that snaps open on impact, potentially letting in beings or entities from somewhere else entirely. People online have pointed to this footage as proof of exactly that, and yet the question lingers. Did something from another world slip into Destiny's home that night? Or is there a more grounded explanation you can think of? Drop your thoughts in the comments. A group of cleaners was brought in to sort out a recently inherited home, but the previous occupant had accumulated an overwhelming amount of belongings. The moment they step inside, it doesn't take long before things go sideways. When Katie and her fellow cleaner showed up, they were immediately taken aback by just how chaotic the place was, far worse than anything the photos had suggested when they agreed to the job.
Some pictures of the house, and judging from the pictures that she sent, like, it didn't look like it was going to be that bad or that hard a job. I immediately take out my phone and start filming because I want to show our boss how this client...
As she walks through the door and starts filming, both of them get a serious shock when this unfolds.
Your favorite Americans. What is that? That's so cute. Oh, the smell is so bad. It smells so. Oh my god, what is that? Flies? Oh, shut the door. Thomas the German, I like him. Oh my god, I just moved again. And it actually comes towards us. You need to have someone else. They don't go by themselves. What have you gotten us into? Oh my god,
While they're documenting the state of the property, a ride-on toy suddenly begins moving by itself, even shifting direction to follow the cleaners around, completely freaking them out. They go back through the footage to check whether the Thomas toy runs on batteries, only to discover the bottom is solid plastic with no battery compartment whatsoever. So how exactly did it move under its own power, and even pivot sharply in their direction? That was enough for the cleaners to walk out and decide they weren't coming back. But a few days later, the homeowner reaches out to them again.
We would be willing to come back, but only under 3 conditions. Second, that the Thomas the Tank Engine toy would absolutely not be in the house, that we did not want to be in the house with it. And third, that she examine the Thomas the Tank Engine toys and take photos and provide us with photos to show us the toy, the train toy, is just plastic.
Sandra, the owner, agrees to their terms. And after receiving confirmation that the Thomas toy had been removed from the property, they headed back to finish the job. But then, this happens.
What is it?
Come here, come see.
Oh, come back. Get out! We have to burn that thing. And then... That is so scary.
Once again, even from outside the house, the Thomas toy starts moving on its own, slowly rotating to face the cleaner through the window. But as they push on with the cleaning, she comes across something that sends an even deeper chill down her spine.
Photo album. And in the album, there's a picture of a child. I'm obviously going to post the pictures above, but you can see the kid on it.
And if you look really closely, you can see that in the pictures is the Thomas train that we keep seeing move. We don't know anything about this boy. We don't know if he still lives here, this was a long...
Katie suspects the toy likely belonged to the boy pictured in the Polaroid photos, and that he probably died at some point, which would certainly explain the unsettling things they keep encountering. Later that same evening, a phone call with the owner would leave her shaken to her core.
Hello?
Hi, I was just calling because I had some questions about something that we found in your house.
Well, that is very personal. That was my nephew. You know, after you sent me the video, I'm wondering too, because that was his train. I don't know what to think. I mean, I don't know how to take it,
But you do feel like that it's your nephew moving the train?
Well, anything can happen. I don't know what to say. I mean, it's possible. Okay.
Werner's nephew had passed away, which also explains why so much of his belongings were left behind in the house. His aunt had since become the new owner, and just a few weeks after moving in, she captured something bizarre herself and sent the footage over to Katie. A small door on a toy playset swings open on its own, then snaps shut again, given that nearly all of the strange activity seems to be centered around the toys. Could it be that the spirit of the owner's nephew never actually left? Drop your thoughts in the comments. This footage was captured on June 1st, 2026, and remains the only thing the account has ever posted. The person filming mentions that this isn't a first-time occurrence he lives by himself, and it's well into the night when he picks up on something deeply disturbing happening near his RV. Pay close attention to what unfolds.
Vivo solo en mi casa, salí para afuera y la puerta se empezó a mover sola. Mire, pero nadie me cree cuando les digo. Nadie me cree. No hay nadie ahorita ahí. Vi que se asomó algo y ese es mi perro, pero mi perro no puede alcanzar a hacer eso. Se apagaron las luces y están prendidas.
As he pulls in for a closer look, a dark, shadowy figure can be spotted slipping inside the RV, only to creep back and peer out, almost as though it's clocked the man standing there with his camera. The door then begins swinging open and shut on its own, and that same dark shape edges back into view. Moments later, the lights cut out completely, and just before the clip ends, the figure appears in the upper window, staring outward before retreating into the darkness. He's far too shaken to step inside and investigate, and honestly, whether this is a genuine apparition or something else entirely, that's for you to decide. Next set of videos comes from the TikTok account shown on screen right now. The account is run by a woman named Catalina. A couple of days back, a rat had somehow found its way into the laundry room of their home, and while the family was trying to chase it out, her daughter had the whole thing rolling on camera. Everyone treated it as a lighthearted moment at first, but once they went back and watched the footage again, they realized the camera might have picked up something far more disturbing.
There's this huge freaking rat in our living room and our laundry room right now. Oh my god! Oh wait, okay, wait, let me try to open the door. Hold on. Oh my god, it's right there in the basket. Oh my god!
Mom, you gotta get it. Mom,
I'm gonna try.
Oh my goodness.
Sorry.
Get the baby, Mom.
As Catalina reviewed the recording, she spotted something lurking just behind the door. A dark shadow figure appears for a brief moment, seemingly peering at them from inside the laundry room. Catalina says the sight instantly made her skin crawl, because that corner of the house had always given her an uneasy feeling. She went on to say that there had always been something not quite right about that laundry room, even well before any of this took place.
This is the hallway that me and my daughter saw the rat go into our cat door in our laundry room here. For some reason, I never felt comfortable in here. I felt very claustrophobic, and I always felt like there was something always watching me in that corner. It's not surprising that we caught something in that window. It's very odd, and it makes me feel so uncomfortable. I like to think that it was my grandmother because she was always close to me, and I've always felt like she was around me and protecting me all the time. And I don't think that it's anything demonic.
Even with how unsettling the clip was, Catalina doesn't believe whatever is sharing the house with them means any harm. In fact, she thinks it could be the spirit of her late grandmother, someone she was incredibly close to before she passed. And shortly after the shadow figure was spotted, yet another strange moment was accidentally recorded inside the home, this time through her son's eyes. Apparently, he loves cruising around the house with an RC car fitted with a small onboard camera. And during one of those sessions, here's what the footage captured. As he drives the car around, her son starts following the family dog from room to room. But the second the car rolls into the laundry room, unexplained, disembodied voices begin echoing in the background, and from there it only gets stranger. When the car trails the dog back outside, a tile that had been sitting completely motionless suddenly launches off the ground and lands near the automatic door. A lot of viewers watching the clip felt it looked less like it fell and more like it was deliberately hurled toward the car. Catalina later posted a follow-up video addressing the whole thing.
So you will not believe me if I told you that these tiles were just here and one just flew up in the air. There was no wind, nothing to cause it. And these were pretty much really stuck together. Really stuck together. As you can see, when I pull this one apart, it's very hard. And it just flew up. And my son caught it on his camera. It's very odd, very strange. It's never happened to us before. I don't know how it happened or what made it happen.
She still holds on to the belief that the presence in her home could be her grandmother keeping watch over the family, though a large portion of her viewers aren't buying it and think whatever is there is something far more sinister. For now, she hasn't come forward with any significant updates, but that leaves the question open. Could this genuinely be the spirit of a loving grandmother, or is there something with much darker intentions inside that house? Drop your thoughts below and let us know what you believe. Launched in 1936, the Queen Mary originally sailed as a luxury ocean liner before being repurposed as a troop transport during World War II. What makes the ship especially fascinating is the sheer number of deaths connected to it from natural causes to wartime tragedies. Since being permanently docked in California, it has earned a reputation as one of the most haunted vessels on the planet. Guests and crew members alike have described hearing mysterious footsteps, disembodied voices, the laughter of phantom children, and shadowy figures drifting through its deserted corridors. Among the most enduring paranormal legends surrounding the Queen Mary is the story tied to its long-abandoned first-class swimming pool. The pool has been empty for decades, yet visitors and ghost hunters continue to report hearing the giggling of a young girl echoing through the space. According to the legend, the apparition of a little girl is frequently spotted standing at the pool's edge, and some guests claim to have seen her reflection in the water before she simply disappears. That's precisely why a woman named Nancy Gill decided to visit the Queen Mary and investigate its notorious abandoned pool for herself. While she was filming, she may have unknowingly recorded something deeply unsettling.
Jackie. Hello. Jackie.
After calling out to the spirit of the young girl, she appeared to receive a response she never anticipated. A soft, ghostly whisper can be heard in the footage saying, "Hi."
Hello. Hello. Hello.
Nancy didn't notice the voice in the moment, but upon reviewing the recording, something unusual had clearly been picked up. There were no children anywhere nearby at the time, making the mysterious sound nearly impossible to rationalize. So what exactly was it? Was something or someone attempting to reach out to Nancy? And could that faint voice belong to the little girl said to wander the A-Man, posted a deeply unsettling series of clips online, claiming his once quiet home had become ground zero for a string of inexplicable events. It all began with mysterious banging sounds in the dead of night. Every time he got up to investigate, he'd find random objects scattered and toppled, yet no trace of any intruder. As the disturbances grew more intense and harder to ignore, he made the decision to keep his phone close and capture whatever came next. Then one night, a violent hammering erupted from the other side of the basement door. See for yourself what he recorded. Not a soul anywhere in that empty basement. A few days on, that very same door began slamming over and over again in the middle of the afternoon. Here's exactly what the camera caught.
What the hell? What in the hell is that sound? What the hell is that?
With no obvious explanation anywhere in the footage, the clips quickly ignited fierce arguments across the internet. Certain viewers were convinced there had to be a rational cause, while others felt something far more sinister had taken hold of the property. To this day, not a single one of those strange occurrences has ever been accounted for. Back in 2019, a group of real estate investors found themselves walking through a long abandoned property, the kind of place that sells for next to nothing, precisely because it's been sitting untouched for years. They were going room to room, running through the standard pre-evaluation sweep you'd expect before making any serious decisions about a place, when one member of the group spotted something on the staircase that had no business being there. A wire, thin enough to go completely unnoticed unless your eyes happened to fall right on it, stretched low across one of the steps. Nothing about it announced itself. It sat at exactly the height where a foot would catch it, before the brain even registered the threat, camouflaged against the grime and neglect of a staircase that hadn't seen upkeep in a very long time. Rather than stepping over it and moving on, they decided to trigger it deliberately. The response was instant ablade, fixed somewhere above the stairwell and engineered to come swinging down the moment that wire was disturbed. The setup itself wasn't complicated, there was nothing clever or elaborate about how it was built, but that was precisely the point. It didn't need to be, it just needed to go unseen. If anyone had climbed those stairs without catching that wire first, things would have ended very differently. And that's the part that stays with people who've come across this story. How shockingly little it takes for something lethal to sit out in the open, waiting inside a house no one thought to approach with any caution. We're pulling something out of the archives today, a short but deeply puzzling clip that was filmed in Mexico back in 2009. In Mexican folklore, there exists a creature known as the duende, a mischievous goblin-like being said to dwell inside the walls of houses or lurk in the shadows of backyards. These entities are typically described as small, humanoid figures. The footage itself is grainy, which is exactly what you'd expect from a phone camera of that era, but somehow that only makes what was captured feel even more disturbing. See for yourself. It's over in a flash, but the moment your eyes lock onto it, there's no going back. That is not a cat. That is not a dog. Whatever it is, it's moving on two tiny legs in a fully upright position, arms swinging at its sides just the way a person walks. The gait looks deliberate, almost purposeful, and it appears to be heading straight toward the cover of that shed. Of course, skeptics will argue it's simply an artifact of the low resolution, or maybe a puppet being dragged along by a string. So what exactly are we looking at here, a creature pulled straight from myth? This next clip was first posted to TikTok on March 3rd, 2025, by a brother and sister named Josh and Crystal. The two were checked into a hotel when something unfolded that left them both completely at a loss. Whatever went down inside that room that day has reportedly haunted them ever since.
I can see you. Come to me. Are you a little boy? It's okay. Come here. It's okay. I don't know if my eyes are playing tricks on me, but it looks like it's going like back and forth. You see movie?
To say they were rattled would be an understatement. A full-bodied shadow figure, appearing to take the form of a young boy, seems to step out from the bathroom while Josh and Crystal had their camera rolling. Whatever they assumed was lurking outside may have actually been sharing that room with them the entire time.
Wait.
No, you come back. Go straight, look straight. Towards me. No.
The shape of what they believe to be a little boy is something neither of them can find a rational explanation for. So what do you think their camera actually picked up? There's a woman on TikTok named Anna Labwood who regularly shares videos of herself performing beautiful pieces on the organ. Her channel is generally pretty wholesome and genuinely enjoyable to watch, with nothing unsettling about it whatsoever except for one particular upload. On January 26, 2026, Anna posted something that was a complete departure from her usual content. She was alone inside a cathedral in Norway at roughly 2:30 in the morning when things took a deeply disturbing turn.
Guys, I love you all. Please don't do this in the middle of the night. It's really scary. It's 2:30 in the morning and someone's trying to get in. That is. I know they can't get in, but it is still scary.
Throughout the footage, someone can be heard aggressively hammering on the cathedral doors, apparently desperate to get inside. The sound reverberates through the hollow space as Anna sits frozen, visibly unnerved, simply waiting for it to stop. She later said the banging happened 4 distinct times before finally going silent. Whoever was out there eventually seemed to give up and walk away, but that still leaves a deeply unsettling question hanging in the air. Why were they so determined to get in at that hour? Some people in the comments felt the whole thing had an almost threatening quality to it, as though the cathedral was being deliberately singled out in the dead of night. Others have suggested a more innocent explanation, perhaps someone unaware the building was closed, or a person seeking help without realizing how alarming it would sound from within those walls. Still, no matter how rational the explanation might be, hearing someone relentlessly pound on the doors of a massive, pitch-dark cathedral at 2:30 am would unsettle just about anybody. It's the combination of factors: the vast emptiness, the late hour, the isolation, the way the echo carries that makes this clip so difficult to shake. A couple of years back, a woman by the name of Kylie moved into a Connecticut property called Green Manor, a house that had been standing for 264 years. Not long after getting settled, she discovered that the land sat right beside a small cemetery. The moment she found out, she had a gut feeling it was going to cause trouble down the line. And sure enough, over the weeks that followed, strange things started happening inside the house that made her feel like she wasn't the only one there. Unexplained sounds kept echoing through the old rooms on a regular basis, until eventually, one particular moment took things to a whole new level. Scratching and shuffling noises appear to be coming from just beyond a closed door, and at several points it genuinely sounds like someone on the other side is trying to get through. Rooted to the spot, Kylie steels herself before slowly walking over and pulling the door open, only to find nothing at all waiting for her. Shaken, she heads upstairs and goes through every single room to confirm she truly is by herself in the house. She comes up empty, and yet she's completely baffled because, as far as she's concerned, there is no question that the handle and the door were physically moving just a short time before. In a home that has been around for over 2 centuries, some strange sounds have perfectly reasonable explanations, but others are a lot harder to dismiss. A woman uploaded a chilling clip to Reddit that spread across the internet almost instantly. The footage came from a security camera mounted at the front of her property. According to her, she and her husband were jolted awake in the middle of the night by their motion detector going off. Moments later, their car alarm started blaring, and the headlights began flashing on their own. When they checked the security monitor, they could make out 2 figures standing at the entrance to their yard. The husband decided to head outside and confront them. What unfolded after that was both terrifying and nearly impossible to wrap your head around. See for yourself what the camera recorded. The footage shows 2 individuals standing just outside the yard's gate. The man approached them, yelling and gesturing for them to leave. He then switched on the car's headlights to get a better look at them, and that's when it happened. In an instant, both figures simply vanished, disappearing in the most unsettling and inexplicable way imaginable. To this day, neither the woman nor her husband has been able to figure out who those 2 figures were, or how they could have vanished so completely. Plenty of people in the comments were convinced this was a genuine paranormal encounter. So what's your take on it? Facebook user Alicia Penman is the one behind this next unsettling clip. According to Alicia, late one evening her husband stepped outside to bring the recycling bins out, and on his way back inside, something occurred that neither of them has been able to make sense of. As her husband makes his way back toward the house, a strange, eerie mist, or what some might call an apparition, appears to drift right behind him, and possibly even through him. You can clearly see the moment he senses something brush past him, though he has absolutely no idea what it was, and he never actually catches a glimpse of the mysterious haze. When the couple pulled up the footage on their Ring camera, they were more than a little shaken. Once Alicia shared the video on Facebook, all kinds of theories started pouring in, yet there was reportedly no fog anywhere in the area that night, and nobody has been able to come up with a solid explanation for what that strange mist actually is. So, what's your take? For this next entry, we're turning our attention to yet another UAP video from the recently published batch on the United States Department of War website. Cataloged as DAO UAP PR 055, the footage was reportedly recorded on November 23, 2020. Much like the other clips in this release, almost no supporting information was provided alongside it. So what you see on screen is essentially all we have to go on. Judge for yourself what's happening here. The recording appears to capture a dark, spherical object as it repeatedly emerges from and disappears back into cloud cover. Unlike several other UAP clips from the same release, this particular object stays fairly visible throughout much of the footage, which makes it a lot easier to track its path across the sky. Somewhere around the 32-second mark, the raw, unprocessed version of the footage is also presented, offering a second look at the same object directly from the source recording. What really stands out about this clip is the nature of the object's movement. Rather than passively floating along with the clouds, it appears to shift position in a manner that many viewers have characterized as intentional or guided. That said, there's always the chance that what looks like controlled movement is actually just a product of camera angle, the motion of the platform filming it, or simply the way the footage itself was captured. Without any further context, making definitive statements is really off the table. Still, it's another compelling piece in this growing collection of officially declassified UAP material. Urban Explorer recently paid a visit to a long-abandoned school, a place that once buzzed with the laughter and chatter of kids, but now stands hollow and still. He decided to pull out his camera and document what remained as he ventured through its empty corridors. See for yourself what he found. Deeper into the building, he came across a series of bizarre drawings etched across the floor. Then, without warning, a strange metallic clanging rang out through the silence of the vacant structure. Here's what was caught on camera. Further ahead, a tall, dark silhouette stood motionless in the distance. It didn't appear to shift or stir at any point, yet it was impossible to simply look away. Was it just an odd trick of light and shadow playing games? Or was it something that had never actually departed from this forgotten place? What's your take on what was captured here? The following videos were recorded inside a child's bedroom using a Ring security camera. The kind of footage parents set up expecting to catch nothing more than a toddler climbing out of her crib in the middle of the night. For a while, that was all it was. But according to the family, something had been making itself known in that room, and the little girl had apparently been reacting to things no one else could see, turning toward empty corners, startling at nothing, refusing to stay in the room alone. Then came the first clip. Watch. What makes this harder to explain is that, according to the family, the sound wasn't audible in the house at the time. No one heard it. It only showed up on the recording afterward, which is exactly what investigators describe as an electronic voice phenomenon, or EVP, audio that registers on a device but isn't perceived by anyone present in the room. Whether this was a spirit attempting to communicate or something more aggressive announcing itself, the girl clearly heard or felt something, and her reaction left no room for doubt. That alone would be enough to unsettle most people, but it wasn't a one-time event. Later, a second clip surfaced from the same camera, this time at night, in black and white infrared, and it shows the girl wasn't the only one being affected. Watch. There's no audio on this clip, so whatever triggered both of them remains completely unknown, but the way the child freezes and stares at that empty doorway before fleeing suggests she perceives something standing there. Some viewers think whatever has settled into that room is drawn to the child specifically, which would explain the pattern of repeated reactions over time. Others believe the mother's own fear may have made the energy in the room worse, not better. Whatever is happening in that bedroom, it seems to be getting harder for this family to ignore. In this next clip, a group of women are out driving through a rural area when something about an abandoned house on the side of the road makes them slow down and take a second look. The house is a large 2-story structure set back in a field, white peeling paint, a red roof, partially collapsed porch, the kind of place that looks like nobody's been inside in years. One of the women holds her phone up to the window to get a better shot. And that's when they start to notice something in the upper story window on the left side of the house. They can't quite make sense of it at first. Watch. A tall, dark, humanoid silhouette is standing completely still in that window, not shifting, not reacting, just standing there. The women are visibly shaken, turning the car around to get a second pass for a closer look. And even from the road, it doesn't move. Not once. That stillness is what gets people. A living person would react to a car slowing down and pointing cameras at them. Some viewers think it's a mannequin placed deliberately to spook passersby, not unheard of in rural areas. Others aren't so sure, pointing out the figure's height and the way it seems to fill the window frame entirely. If you focus on the second pass, you can make out its outline against the dark interior. Whatever it was, it didn't move. What do you think was standing in that window? The following video was recorded inside what appears to be a Spanish-speaking household. A normal, lived-in home with tiled floors, family photos on the walls, and a large human-sized doll with dark hair and a white outfit lying on a sofa. For a while now, something had been off in this house. The kind of off that's hard to describe until you actually see it. One night, while lying in bed, the person filming opened a security camera app on their tablet and pulled up the live feed from the living room downstairs. The doll was right there on the sofa, still as it should be. Watch.
Son las 3 de la madrugada, se están detectando movimientos en la barber. Estuvimos buscando y pues bueno, captamos ahí está nuestra muñeca, pero se dan cuenta cómo se está moviendo. Es la muñeca la que se está moviendo. Miren. Bastante sorprendente. Hace rato en las tardes la estaba usando mi hija. La dejó ahí y de hecho creo que se la dejó sentada. No manches, sí. Se está moviendo bastante. Bastante se está moviendo. Voy a ir a asomarme. Voy a ir a grabarlo. Amigos.
Ah, sí, ya.
¿Ya viste?
Mira, está diciendo que sí.
Voy a salir. No me equivoco, no recuerdo bien si mi hija la dejó adentro o la dejó afuera, pero sí. Pues no digas mamadas, güey. Digas mamadas, cabrón.
On the grainy, sepia-toned security feed, the doll's head appears to subtly turn on its own, slowly, almost imperceptibly at first, then more distinctly. A green motion detection box flickers around it, and then the person does something that changes the whole nature of this footage. They grab the camera, walk downstairs in the dark, cross the living room, and unbolt a locked door. Behind it, that same doll is sitting upright on a different sofa, in a completely different room, in a completely different position than what the live camera just showed. The bolt on that door is the kind you have to manually slide yourself. No one else was home. Some viewers immediately thought of the classic idea of a haunted or possessed doll, a concept rooted in the belief that spirits, particularly restless or child-associated ones, can attach themselves to objects and inhabit them. Others looked for simpler answers, suggesting the security camera's slow pan created a parallax illusion, but the locked room is harder to explain away. Then things escalated. The second clip was filmed in the same house at 3:33 a.m. That specific time has its own weight in paranormal belief, often called the witching hour or the devil's hour, said to be a darkened version of 3 a.m.'s association with the crucifixion, a time when the boundary between the living and the dead is thought to be at its thinnest. The person filming, silent the entire time, slowly moved through the dark house with a phone in hand, scanning the living room, the rocking chair, the staircase. Watch.
No manchen, amigos. Son las 3:30 de la mañana. Están los golpes a todo lo que da. Ya despertaron a mi hija los gritos, los toquidos. Se logra ver algo. Me percaté de algo ahí en la ventana. Hay algo en la ventana, creo. O me lo estoy imaginando. Veo algo ahí en la ventana. Ahí hay algo, amigos. La sangre de Cristo tiene poder. La sangre de Cristo tiene poder. Lárgate de aquí. Lárgate. Ahí hay algo, amigos. Miren. Voy a ver si se ve. No mamen. Ahí había algo, lo juro por Dios. Está todo bien cerrado. ¿Vieron que ahí había algo? Ahí se veía algo, lo juro por Dios. Ahí había algo. Con la luz se desvanece. Ahí había algo. La sangre de Cristo tiene poder. Tú no perteneces aquí, va en la hora, amigos. Siempre a la misma hora. La sangre de Cristo tiene poder. La sangre de Cristo tiene poder. El que habita el abrigo del Altísimo morará bajo la sombra del Omnipotente. Es hora de estar encerrado. Sangre de Cristo tiene poder.
Around 3:33 in the morning, in a house where the doll had already moved. Now, they can't even sleep peacefully. But it didn't stop there. On a third night, he wasn't quiet about his fear. He was praying in the dark, whispering fragments of the Lord's Prayer, calling out into the blackness. "Who's there? Who's there?" And then, in a voice that sounds less like confrontation and more like desperation, he told whatever was in that room directly, "You don't belong here. You are not welcome in this house. This house is of God. Listen closely."
Ya no lo veo. Padre Celestial, Dios Todopoderoso. ¿Quién anda ahí? ¿Quién anda ahí? ¿Quién anda ahí? Tú no perteneces aquí. No eres bienvenido en esta casa. Esta casa es de Dios.
As the camera sweeps across the room, a dark human-shaped figure appears to be standing perfectly still in the shadows. It doesn't step forward, it doesn't react. It simply remains there, partially concealed by the darkness, watching. Some viewers believe it's nothing more than a trick of the lighting or an object taking on a human shape in the dark. Others point out that after weeks of focusing on unexplained activity, it's easy for the mind to interpret vague shadows as figures. But for those who believe the earlier clips captured something genuine, this final recording feels less like an isolated incident and more like the climax of an escalating haunting. In many religious traditions, prayer is believed to be a form of spiritual protection, and some paranormal investigators claim that alleged entities may react when confronted with expressions of faith. Whether that's what happened here or not remains impossible to verify. What began as a doll that appeared to move ended with someone too frightened to walk through their own home without praying. And if there really was someone, or something, standing silently in that darkness, the question becomes whether it had been there all along, simply waiting to be noticed. This next clip was recorded inside a cemetery office during the daytime by a man who had stopped in just to handle some paperwork, the kind of quiet, routine task that shouldn't come with anything unusual attached to it. He's filming because of something he says he already saw moments before the recording started, a shadow figure that moved across the reflection of a large dark board mounted on the far wall, briefly blocking out the window reflected in its surface. He points directly at the board, then pans to show the window behind him, walking around his own chair to demonstrate that there's nothing on his side of the room that could have caused it, nothing that would explain a shape passing through that reflection. So he starts moving deeper into the space, past a closed bathroom door, into a connected workshop filled with old machinery, tools, and a ladder leading up into the ceiling. He's calling out into the empty room, asking if something knocked, asking if it went back to its hiding spot. Watch.
Alright, I'm here at the cemetery office. I came in just to do some quick paperwork. And I'm sitting at this desk. And right in the reflection of that board over there, you can see the reflection of this window right here. And as I looked up, something went across and blocked out that window. I don't know if it was in front of the board, because there's really no room behind me here. It's just the chair, and that's it. There is nothing else. It's just a bathroom door. I swore I just heard a knock. I know I heard a knock. Twice. Did you knock? Did you go back up to your hiding spot? I heard you knock. You want to come down? Where are you? What the fuck is that noise? I heard you.
If you listen carefully, many people believe the recording contains multiple whispered voices. One viewer even claimed to hear what sounds like a response after he asked whether something knocked, interpreting it as, "Yes, help me." Later, when he asks if it went back to its hiding spot, the same viewer believes another whisper says, "Come find me." Others also reported hearing several faint female whispers scattered throughout the recording, although the words are difficult to distinguish and different listeners hear different phrases. This is where the discussion quickly shifts toward what's known in paranormal investigation as electronic voice phenomena, or EVPs, faint sounds or voices that some believe are only discovered during playback rather than heard in real time. Supporters argue that these recordings occasionally appear to answer direct questions, while skeptics attribute them to audio compression, background noise, suggestion, or auditory pareidolia, the brain's natural tendency to interpret random sounds as recognizable speech. The location itself only adds to the mystery. Cemeteries have long been associated with reports of unexplained voices, shadow figures, and disembodied whispers, leading some paranormal investigators to believe they can act as places where residual energy lingers. Whether the whispers are simply the mind trying to find words in distorted audio, or whether someone or something really answered him from inside that workshop. The possibility that the responses seem to match his questions is what continues to keep viewers listening to the clip again and again. Now, in this next clip, someone is lying in bed in what looks like a motel room, filming from under the covers in a dimly lit space, and they've been awake for 3 days straight. That detail matters because what they're about to capture puts everything in question. Watch. Standing beside the door appears to be a dark figure draped in what looks like a black cloth. What stands out most is the face, a pale. The figure doesn't appear to move. It simply remains there, watching from the corner of the room. At first, she assumes sleep deprivation is playing tricks on her mind. After 3 days without sleep, visual hallucinations are well documented and can become remarkably vivid, often involving shadowy figures or people standing in doorways. That alone would be a reasonable explanation, but then she reviews the recording. The figure appears to have been captured on camera as well. That detail is what convinced her she wasn't imagining it. Those who favor a paranormal explanation compare it to reports of shadow figures, particularly the subtype often described as cloaked or hooded apparitions, dark, human-shaped forms with unusually pale or featureless faces that witnesses claim to encounter during the night. Whether the camera captured an ordinary object distorted by darkness, or whether her exhaustion simply caused her to notice something that had been there all along. The fact that the same figure appeared both to her eyes and through the camera lens is what continues to fuel the debate. The following video is about Nate, a man who still hasn't been able to figure out what exactly he's dealing with or how to stop it. Over time, the activity in his house has gone from unsettling to genuinely alarming. He's been waking up with unexplained scratches on his body and hears footsteps moving through the house when no one else is there. One morning, after finishing his workout and preparing breakfast, he started hearing a clicking sound. At first, he assumed it was the TV, maybe even the heat vent, but after listening more closely, he realized the sound was coming from the kitchen. It sounded exactly like a stove burner clicking, the noise it makes right before igniting. Concerned it could be a gas issue, Nate rushed into the kitchen to check, and that's when this happened. Watch.
The pan is still on the stove, still warm. All the burners are off. But I kept hearing the clicking, like the burner was trying to come on. Like I said, I just finished cooking. I was sitting there drinking my coffee, and I was hearing. And it sounded like it was... Bro. Why with the knives? Why with the knives? Why? Why with the knives?
The clicking sound alone was disturbing, because this was the first time it had ever happened. But what really pushed viewers into panic was what followed, the knife. For the fact that this wasn't the first time, many believe this moment marks a shift in whatever Nate is dealing with. Paranormal researchers often say there's a difference between passive activity, noises, footsteps, shadows, and intentional aggression. Throwing objects, especially sharp ones, is widely considered a warning sign. And the most terrifying part is that Nate hasn't figured out what to do next. So, until more updates are given, this case remains completely unsolved. This next video was captured by a home security camera. Around 2 a.m., the homeowners received a motion alert and decided to check the footage, expecting maybe an animal or someone passing by. But what they saw left them shaken. Watch. The family replayed the clips several times, trying to make sense of what they were seeing. When they were unable to come up with a logical explanation, they shared the footage with a few of their neighbors, hoping someone might recognize the figure, or at least explain why it looked so disturbingly human. The video ended up spreading, and longtime residents of the area immediately knew who, or what, the figure resembled. According to locals, the apparition looks strikingly similar to a woman who died in a car accident near that very stretch of road back in 1948. For decades, people who've lived in the area have quietly shared stories about a woman seen walking late at night, appearing briefly, then vanishing without a sound. Some believe spirits tied to sudden deaths don't realize they're gone, repeating the same path night after night. Others think certain locations become imprinted with trauma, replaying fragments of the past like a broken recording. What makes this even more unsettling is that the family who captured this footage had only recently moved in. They had no knowledge of the area's history, no stories passed down, no warnings. So for now, all anyone can hope is that appearing and disappearing in the dead of night is all she ever does. Now, in this next clip, Kyle heads down to his basement early in the morning, and this time it's nothing like what he's dealt with before. In the past, it was children giggling, soft footsteps, the sound of something small moving around. But this morning, it's loud and violent. watch,
Footsteps all freaking night. Who's knocking on my basement door? Lock. Okay, let's go back upstairs.
When the noise stopped, Kyle opened the door and found no one there. At first, he went for the simplest explanation. Maybe someone heard him coming and ran, maybe it was a prank, or maybe there's a logical reason he just hasn't thought of yet. But that theory falls apart almost immediately. Outside, the ground is covered in fresh snow. If anyone had been down there, child or adult, there should have been footprints leading away from the house, but there were none. Whatever was by the door didn't leave the way a physical person would, or maybe it didn't need to leave in the first place, because it's in the house just changing how it manifests. Some believe this suggests the activity is evolving, because it once sounded playful, now it feels aggressive. For Kyle, this isn't just another strange moment to shrug off, it's another unanswered question in a situation that keeps escalating, and becoming harder to explain. So until more updates are shared, this one remains unsolved. In this next video, a family says they've been tormented by relentless knocking late at night. Sometimes it's light, other times it turns into aggressive banging on the front door, loud enough to send the children into tears. The father has tried everything he knows, cleansing the house, daily prayers, asking for protection, and each time it works, but only temporarily. One night they woke up again, but this time it wasn't knocking that pulled them out of sleep. Listen closely.
Sí, pero... No. Pero no es... No, ya sabes que no es la niña, ya no hagas ruido aquí. Ya sabes que no es la niña. Pues espérate. Está aquí afuera, ¿ah?
Sí, no habrá pasado algo.
No, tú tranquila, no pasó nada, es eso que nos habla. Pero no le voy a abrir. Voy a bajar. No mames, güey. Ah, cabrón. Miren, amigos, no hay nadie. Ya es de madrugada y mis hijos no están, se fueron a dormir con su abuela. No hay absolutamente nadie. Escuchan los ruidos. Uy. Escuche. Yo creo que ya no es hora de estar... Se escuchó aquí. Son casi las 2 de la madrugada. Ya les mostré. No hay absolutamente nadie. Ya está todo cerrado. Está todo cerrado y me voy.
What immediately unsettled viewers is that the voices being heard sound like a girl, yet the kids in the house who are old enough to speak weren't even home that night. But there's another detail people couldn't ignore. In the house is a Labubu doll. While Labubu is widely known as a collectible designer toy, online forums are filled with unsettling stories tied to it. Some owners claim their dolls move slightly when no one is around. Others report unexplained knocking, whispering, or a sudden shift in atmosphere after bringing one into their home. A few even say activity escalated after prayers or cleansing, a detail that eerily mirrors this family's experience. Skeptics argue the doll is just a coincidence, a harmless object becoming a focal point because fear needs something tangible to attach to. But others believe objects don't have to cause paranormal activity to become anchors for it, especially in homes where something already seems to be present. What makes this case disturbing is the pattern. The knocking stops after cleansing, then returns, the voices mimic children who aren't there, and whatever is happening doesn't seem driven away, just temporarily pushed back. So is the doll acting as a trigger? Or is this something entirely unrelated, using familiar sounds to provoke fear? I'll leave you to be the judge on this one. Now, this next clip was recorded inside a retirement home, a building with a quiet but unsettling history. Long before it became a care facility, the property reportedly served as a private infirmary in the early 1900s, taking in patients who were considered too difficult for hospitals at the time. Several former staff members have claimed that deaths were frequent, poorly documented, and often handled during overnight hours to avoid upsetting residents. Over the years, rumors spread about certain rooms being avoided by night nurses, especially those on the upper floors. At around 3 a.m. one morning, this happened.
Oh, I know where that's at.
We have left God's past to follow our own. The sins of us all. I can't think of any better reason to do the next good thing today, so let's pass on. I'm Alex, and this reverse of the day. I'm positive, encouraging K-Love.
We work with a lot of dead people.
What makes this moment disturbing is where the man recording was standing. Before the radio started blaring, he was directly below the room and didn't hear a single footstep above him. So, who turned it on? At first, staff tried to brush it off as a one-time glitch, but about an hour later, it happened again.
Dude, no. 'Cause no. Dude, no.
Oh, hell no. It turned on again? You're lying.
And someone had to turn the dial all the way the other way for it to be doing this. going on?
Again this time, there were no signs of anyone entering or leaving the room. Months later, after a string of more subtle occurrences, doors found unlocked, lights switched on in empty rooms, the faint sound of movement in halls long after residents were asleep, the man experienced something far more unsettling. Listen closely.
I am hearing shit. And it sounds like me.
Different words can be heard clearly. Phrases like, "What are you doing?" And then, as he stood on the stairs, a voice saying, "She's coming." In places like retirement homes, where residents, nurses, and night staff move quietly through dim corridors, some believe spirits linger, attached to routines, rooms, or even specific people. So what's the case here? Now in this next clip, popular Midwest ghost hunter Ian continues his investigation inside the infamous Boyd house. His next stop was the children's room, a space filled with old, unsettling dolls. The last time Ian was here, this section of the house left him more shaken than any other. This time, he carefully scanned the room, trying to see if anything or anyone was present.
Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. Oh my god. Holy moly. I'm not alone. I am not alone in here. Okay, just calm down. Let's take a look.
What makes this moment especially disturbing is that just moments earlier, Ian had clearly seen the bear sitting completely still beneath the chair. As if that wasn't enough, just as Ian prepares to leave the room and move on to the next section of the house, something else happens.
Look in that room with the cursed painting again. I don't know. Oh, what the? What the? What the? That sounds like jiggling, like a doorknob. Who's in here? The hairs on my arm are standing on end right now. I literally heard like a jiggling sound. It sounded like a doorknob. I don't know. Was it this one? Did you just jiggle this doorknob? Maybe it was one of the dressers. Oh my god. Okay. Okay. I could hear it. It is coming from the closet. Look at that. That thing is moving. I can hear that clear as day. Why are you jiggling that doorknob? Are you in the closet? Just trying to keep my camera on it in case it moves. Look at it. Dude, it is moving. Do you hear that? Look at it. Oh. Is there someone behind this? There's gotta be someone. Look at that, dude. You can literally see it moving. Dude, the door is moving. Oh my god. Oh, jeez Louise. That door is shaking.
The closet doorknob began rattling violently on its own, as if someone was standing just on the other side, trying to get out. This wasn't the sound of settling wood or a loose latch. The movement was forceful. Children's rooms are often said to be hotspots in haunted locations, not because of the children themselves, but because spirits are believed to use toys and familiar objects to provoke attention or fear. And in this case, it feels less like playful activity and more like something reacting to Ian's presence. The question is, was whatever moved the bear the same thing trying to get out of that closet, or something else entirely? This investigation is far from over. For more haunting videos including Ian, subscribe to the channel now. The following video was recorded by a home security camera and later shared to YouTube by a man named Charlie on his channel, where he claimed the footage was captured outside his property late one night. The camera overlooked a quiet yard, with a parked pickup truck in the foreground and a road running along a tree line in the distance, all of it lit by the yellow-orange glow of a nearby street lamp. At first, nothing seemed unusual. The footage looked like any ordinary overnight security recording, but while reviewing the video, Charlie noticed something near the stop sign on the right side of the road and called his partner over to watch it with him. Watch closely.
And watch the stop sign on the left or on the right-hand side. It materializes. There's the head and shoulders walking down the road, turns and walks up the road and disappears behind the tree.
That's just freaking nuts.
A translucent human-shaped figure is seen on the road, head and shoulders clearly visible, and walks calmly from right to left before turning up a path and vanishing completely behind a tree, never emerging on the other side. What makes this harder to dismiss is that the figure doesn't run, doesn't flicker out mid-stride. It just walks, deliberately, and then it's simply gone. Some viewers think it's a classic residual haunting, a kind of energy imprint replaying a path someone once walked so often it burned itself into the location. Others aren't sure that explanation covers something you can watch materialize out of nothing. What do you think was walking that road? Now, in this next video, a man who works at a cemetery has been documenting a string of increasingly strange incidents coming from the garage on the property, a locked, cluttered workshop filled with lawn equipment, tools, and what he's starting to believe is something that doesn't clock out. Over the past few days, he's reported a white door slamming shut on its own, 3 loud knocks against it while it was still open, and lights flickering on and off through the windows before he even unlocks the place. He's calm about it, almost too calm, which is either the sign of someone who's gotten used to something, or someone who's made peace with something they can't explain. On this particular morning, while he's walking through the garage with a camera and talking through what he'd experienced before hitting record, it happens again. Watch.
Alright, so I am up here at the cemetery, and I wish I would have caught it, but I was just getting my stuff together for the day. And I had this door open along with this bay door, and this door just slammed shut so loud, and I swear prior to it slamming I heard 3 knocks on it while it was open. I have no explanation. I have no explanation. I don't know what the hell that was. It was 3 super loud knocks, and then the door slammed shut so loud, so fast too. It was like, oh, I wish I would have caught it. Good morning. Sorry, I forgot to say good morning. Did you drop your tool? I'll get it for you. I'll put it on the workbench.
A sudden, jarring metallic clatter erupts from somewhere inside the garage, completely off camera, and the camera jolts as he spins around searching for the source. What he finds is a socket wrench extension lying on the concrete floor. No one else is in the building, and he can't account for how it got there. But here's the thing about the way he responds. He doesn't run. He picks it up, places it on the workbench, and quietly says, "Is that better?" Addressing whatever threw it as if it were a coworker who knocked something off a shelf by accident. Some viewers find that the strangest part. Skeptics would argue the tool could have fallen from a surface nearby, but the force of that clatter and the timing of it are harder to explain away. That's simply. The next morning, he pulls in and notices the lights in the locked workshop are flashing on and off through the window, and when they finally stay on, he thinks he sees a dark shadow dart past the glass. He unlocks the door and goes in to investigate. Listen closely.
Alright, so I just arrived to the cemetery and through that window saw the lights flashing 3 times, on, off, on, off, on, off. They're now off. I waited like a minute. They didn't turn back on, but the last time they flashed on, I could have swore I saw a dark shadow dart by that window. So we're gonna go right in, unlock the door. We're gonna say good morning right off the bat. Good morning. Good morning. I saw the lights on. Good morning. It looked like something darted by that window right there. Now I don't see anything. We're gonna turn the lights on. Good morning. Just here to work. I saw the lights. I saw the lights flickering. Do you need help? Did you lose something? It's definitely that window right there. It darted by this. Good morning. Yesterday I saw it dart by that window as I walked in. And it blocked all that out. Oh, shit.
He's mid-sentence when another loud clatter cuts through the silence and a small black circular object appears on the concrete floor near one of the mowers, seemingly thrown from nowhere. His voice drops, his breathing shifts, and he starts whispering, clearly rattled despite having been through this before. He'd seen the shadow dart past that same window the day before, which suggests whatever's in that space isn't a one-time occurrence, but something that keeps showing up. Then, on yet another visit, arriving to find the lights on again in a building he'd left locked and dark, he unlocks the door, steps inside, and whispers that he can see footprints near one of the windows. Watch closely.
Alright, I'm up here at the cemetery. Just pulled in and saw the light flash on, flash off. Saw something go by this window, and the lights are on right now. The lights are literally on, still on right now. This is the first time I actually caught the lights while they're still on. Good morning. These lights were off Friday when I left, and now they are on. This is the first time I caught them. They were flashing when I pulled in. This is the first time I caught them actually staying on. Good morning. Oh yeah. No prints. Something flashed in front of this window right here. What was that? Good morning. You don't have to throw my headphones. I mean, they're not expensive, but they're not cheap. Oh, shit. Actually caught the light staying on this time. You know, you better pitch in for this electric bill if you're going to keep these lights on.
Two separate metallic clatter sounds erupt one after the other from an unseen source, and when he finally locates the disturbance, he finds his own headphones thrown onto the floor next to one of the mowers. Some people also heard a cat's meow somewhere inside the garage, and while that's been floated as a natural explanation for some of the noises, it doesn't account for all of them, and it certainly doesn't explain the lights turning themselves on between visits. What's living in that workshop, and what exactly does it want with the man who mows the cemetery? The following clips come from the same house. The same rooms, the same security cameras, the same person living through a series of events that started quietly and then got significantly worse. It begins in the early hours of February 16th of 2020, just before 3 a.m., with the house empty, the lights off, and a small cat sitting on the floor near a closed interior door. The cat had come into the bedroom earlier that night and woken the homeowner up, meowing loudly, which he didn't think much of at the time. By the morning, though, the cat was refusing to come downstairs entirely. Watch. The door first drifts open on its own, slowly, a few inches, as if something is testing the weight of it, and then something is seen resting against the wall. No one's there. Skeptics would say air pressure, a draft, an unlatched latch. But the slow creep before the violent slam is what makes that explanation hard to land. Drafts don't usually pause. Then it got worse. On April 27th of 2020, more than 2 months later, the security camera in the same house captured something far more chaotic. The owner had been filming the night before, heard a lot of banging, and went upstairs rather than keep recording, a decision he openly regrets. Listen closely. Objects are thrown from a stacked pile under the stairs. A board game box lands hard in the middle of the floor. A scraping sound tears across the room like something heavy being dragged. And then, as the activity seems to settle, the glass pane door in the center of the frame slams shut on its own with enormous force. Orbs of light appear and vanish twice during the sequence, each one coinciding with a new sound or movement. For viewers familiar with poltergeist cases, that combination, objects thrown, furniture weight scraping, doors slamming, fits a pattern described repeatedly in documented activity reports, where the disturbances escalate in both frequency and aggression over weeks, not in a single night. It's not subtle. And if you've been following this case from the first clip, the same door, the same rooms, the same hours of the night, you'd start to wonder whether whatever this is had been building towards something. 2 months after the security camera footage, the same homeowner found himself downstairs at 5:30 a.m., woken by a loud bang, phone in hand, filming as he walked down a dark staircase. Watch.
Right, so it's like 5:30 in the morning. I just got woken up to a loud bang. I was thinking maybe it's just Corey, but no. Corey's here sleeping next to me. And if you want to have a look as well, this is what he's fucking come to. Falling asleep. Watching Minecraft playthroughs. Because I can't fucking sleep and I'm just like, I need to have all my electronics on my fucking Xbox and my PC in order to even like relax. It's ridiculous, but that's what's going on. Let's go see what's going on downstairs. Right, so the light's not working again. What the fuck? Fucking orange on the fuck's sake. Freezer's leaking. Right, and the door's just opened itself. I don't even know if the camera fucking picked that up. Oh, for fuck's sake. I can't be bothered with this. Right, if there's anything in the room with me right now, if there's anything or anyone that wants to communicate, open the door. Go on, open the fucking door. What the oh my god. Right, so there's something in the room. Do you want me to do a fucking Ouija board? Is that it? What the for fuck's sake. Right, I'm just gonna that scared the shit out of me.
Every kitchen cabinet and drawer is standing wide open, and the freezer door is ajar with an orange on the floor. He shuts the drawers one by one, and as he turns, a white door with frosted glass panels slowly swings open behind him. He challenges it out loud, tells it to open the door if it's there, and after a pause, it obliges, thrown open with extreme force, and then slams shut in the same motion. He asks if it wants him to get a Ouija board, and the moment he finishes the sentence, a tall, freestanding stack of cases in the next room violently collapses. He runs. A continuous high-pitched sound, somewhere between a theremin and a tone, runs underneath all of it. That sound in particular unsettled a lot of viewers because it doesn't come from anything visible on screen. Some think it's consistent with infrasound-adjacent phenomena, low or high frequencies sometimes reported in locations with active disturbances, described in some paranormal traditions as a sign that something is present and aware. Others think it's audio added in post to sell the drama. What would you do if that was your house? Sometime after all of this, the homeowner turned his attention to something else in the property, a plasma ball he'd been using as a paranormal communication device. He unplugged it from the wall, established a system of 1 flash for yes and 2 for no, and filmed it responding to his questions. Take a look.
Right, so the plasma balls just started going off again after I filmed that last video, so I figured now's a good time to ask it some more questions. So I'm just going to unplug it here so you know it's not faked. And someone mentioned that I should ask it to do 1 flash for yes and 2 flashes for no. So yeah, whatever's in the room with me right now, if you want to communicate, would you be able to do 1 flash for yes and 2 flashes for no? Right. So you're in the room with me right now. And do you want to communicate? Right, so were you a human? So you weren't a human? Or you're not a human? Right, and are you a demon? No. I don't know what you mean when you flash like that. So when this started, like before this started, I had a dream that Pennywise was downstairs in this house. Was that you trying to communicate to me? Take that as a yes. And are you Pennywise? No, obviously. Right, so are you bad? Yes. That's creepy. And I will just show as well, yeah, so if I just... Right, so... I want to keep it all in one shot. Yeah, I was wrong. It is battery operated. Look, there is a little battery slot there, so I am just going to show. I didn't even know that was there, but I am just going to show. If I set the phone down like here, right, and then I unscrew it. Yeah, I didn't even know that there was a battery thing on it. I think the screwdriver is too big. So yeah, I just want to keep it all in one shot so you can see that that's it. Yes. Oh. Yeah, I'm not well at the moment, so if I sound rough, that's why. Right. So, as you can see, watch it, there's 3 batteries inside of it that I didn't even know about. But yeah, when I bought this, I didn't even look, didn't even check to see if there was a battery thing inside. So yeah, I guess Steve-O was right, but yeah, you can see. Oh. You can see there, there's no batteries. So,
after the questions, he carries the ball to the kitchen and opens a battery compartment in the base on camera in a single continuous take. No cuts, no edits. And the compartment is completely empty. 4 slots for AAA batteries, all of them vacant. So the device had been responding with no connection to a wall outlet and no batteries installed. That final reveal, done almost reluctantly after a viewer pointed out the battery compartment existed in the first place, is what made this clip spread widely. There's no clean explanation for a plasma ball flashing on command with no power source, so what do you think he's dealing with?